So we'll call the meeting to order at 6:34. First order of business is to review and make any changes to the agenda. Anybody have any additions or changes to be made to the agenda?
We needed to add on those two letters for Black Falls Road.
Letters of support?
Yeah, letters of support.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to get the newsletter out. I just remembered.
Great. Anything else? Anybody have any other additions or changes?
No.
All right. Hearing no other additions or changes, we'll move into the minutes of September 20th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of September 20th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 20th.
Great. We have a motion from Suzanne. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Great. Second from Leanne. Any further discussion on the minutes? All right. Hearing no further discussion on the minutes, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. Motion carries and the minutes are approved. Moving into Public Works, first up is Roads and Bridges. Grant updates, Mark. And this is probably where the added thing about the letters of support for Black Falls.
Yeah, we'll put that there.
So, this is from Luke Rossetti, letters of support on the proposal for Black Falls Road structure.
They sent us a template. There was two places we need to send it to. Madison Regional Committee and what's the other one? There's another one there.
Lake Champlain Basin Program.
Lake Champlain Basin Program.
Okay.
I looked over the letter. It looked fine. So this is for Black Falls Road, right past where Lee Bar was.
Yep.
The town share will be in-kind labor for this project. So these are just letters showing that the select board supports doing the project and to these committees, and that's where the funding's coming from. So they needed these letters of support.
Okay.
Does this need to be specified?
Description of in-kind contribution the town can provide.
So,
Because that's
I mean-
that's in the template, I think, because it's in both of them. So
As we get more into the project, we'll see more what our
that might need to be changed to to be determined something. I don't know.
Yeah, it says on the bottom, as a partner in this project, we'd be willing to provide in-kind contribution.
so it would be
town.
kind labor.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's just looking for a description of that in-kind labor. So probably,
Yes.
or in-kind contribution. So it probably needs to be specified that it's labor.
Yeah, we just say labor and machinery.
Labor machinery. Yeah.
I'm gonna pass these down.
Yeah.
So this goes to the Mount Ascutney Regional Commission and the Lake Champlain Basin Program. So these funds are through
Yeah.
the Lake Champlain Basin Program and Clean Water Block Grant Program. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, these templates are pretty clear. I can fill in the part about the match.
The only issue I see about that whole project is closing the road and detouring, but as we get closer, we're gonna have to figure all that out because there really isn't a good detour around,
It's a dead end road.
and so that's something we'll have to keep an eye on and try to figure out because it's
Okay.
gonna trap a lot of people up there. It's not gonna happen overnight.
How long do you think it will take?
I think they're estimating like 7 days. So we're gonna have to figure all that out when we get closer to the project. I was looking at the plans and so
What's the timeline for this work?
I think they're hoping next year,
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I probably don't need it formally, but if someone wants to make a motion to submit a letter of support for the Black Falls Road project, the Lake Champlain Basin Program, and Mount Ascutney Association.
I'll make the motion to submit the two letters to the various associations.
Great. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. We'll get those off tomorrow to those folks. Any other grant updates?
Yes, the municipal roads general permit grant, we've completed it. We've completed the work. We've got everything seeded down. I got the bill from Avery today for the excavating. Then I'm just waiting for a bill from Leaches for the material. Then I'll get the numbers together, and then either Bethany or Sean Coleman's going to come out and inspect the areas, and then we'll get the numbers. We'll get the grant submitted with the numbers.
Awesome.
And then it's got to be done by the 31st of October, which should be fine.
Okay.
To get everything in. At least the work is completed. It went well. We went a little bit farther on North Hill because it only made sense not to stop where we were. And hopefully they're gonna, it's still a high priority area, so.
Yep.
But I think I needed a little bit more to make sure I had enough to cover the grant. So I think we're gonna be set. But it didn't make sense to stop where we were because we were just gonna wash everything into where we already put the stone lining. So we went stone lining up a little bit farther.
Okay.
And then everything went good on Reagan Road.
Great.
So yeah, so that grant, I'll get everything together.
Great. So then the end of the month is when the reporting's due, but it sounds like we got plenty of time to get that in.
Yeah, they're gonna help me. I'll get the numbers together, and then
Awesome.
we kept track of everything. So
Great. Any other grant updates on anything? I think those are the two big ones that we had on the radar.
Yeah. I'm gonna start working on the one for next spring for Black Falls. I've got to talk to Consolidated because a lot of their lines are right in the way, and see what we can do about that.
Okay.
But I'll start the process because I think that grant next year will have to be completed earlier than this year. They extended this one to October. Most of the time they have to be done by June 30th. So I'm going to try to get stuff together so that we're ready to go right in spring.
And that's the one for ditching the lower section.
Yeah.
Similar work that we had on North Hill.
Yeah.
Doing
We'll have to cut some trees along the side and then try to widen the road, move the road in. We may have to do some ledge, breaking up, stuff like that too. So.
Great.
But then we'll start working on that, and then maybe the next year we'll go up higher. We'll see how far we can get, 1 year. Try to get that opened up and in better shape.
Great. Awesome. Any other project updates in general that you got?
We just completed the gravel pile, so we have the gravel pile for the spring. Scott's truck has to go to Clark's this week. There's an air tank leaking, but it's under warranty, so it'll be a warranted replacement. And then Mark's truck's got to go to get some work done on that at Valancourt, so we're going to try to schedule those in. So we're trying to get everything repaired before winter.
Great.
Then I'm trying to figure out where I can put stockpiles, some loads of ledge, or the stone that we use in the mud season, so that we have some on hand this year. Having to bring some more in. So I'm just trying to figure out a spot to put some of that.
Great.
Yeah.
Only other thing under here for roads and bridges that we had on the agenda was just to check in on any of the Class 4 road work, and whether we're going to try to do any of that grading.
Yeah, we're going to do some more grading next week, and then we'll try to do some on those roads. I just traveled them all. I've checked them all the last couple of weeks, and most of them are pretty good shape. So, and then up in the Gibu, Lou Godfrey called me on Friday and said there were some white flags in the road as you turn to come back down the hill west side. And so I went up this morning and I got the names off the flags. So it looks like Consolidated wants to run a phone line in the road, on the edge of the road to this other house. and nobody's gotten a permit and nobody's talked to us, so.
Okay.
So actually Consolidated called me today and accused us of breaking a line down by Marshall's. And he called me and said, well, the town just broke a phone line down by Marshall's. And I said, we aren't even digging down there. And I said, Hercules are digging on the side of the road down there. And then I said, oh, by the way, I went up on our Class 4 road and I see some flags up there. And it looks like you want to put a phone line in, but somebody needs to notify the town because, it's an existing line. I said, no, it isn't. I said, there's no existing line there, so. Oh, I'll look into that. I said, okay. So I've notified. I notified the contractor that was on the flags too that they need to notify us of what they're going to do
Okay.
up there. Because even a Class 4 road, they need to let us know
Yeah.
what they're doing. So
Okay. Great.
yeah. And then the project on my road, Fuller Bridge Road, the conduit, I think they're over half done. So that's been coming along pretty good.
Okay.
I think they're way down almost just above my place right now. So
Good.
that's coming along good.
Great. And then specific to Creamery Bridge,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, we plan on getting that other side repaired next week.
So do some grading there, and then probably any of the ditching work we talked about, we're probably looking at like next spring at the earliest.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
I think we could do a little bit with a grader in there to try, or even with a loader, to try to dig, clean out some of it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like, because we do need
Temporarily.
we need to get back to him on any work he needs to do in there on the site, and basically let them know that that has to happen prior to us doing any major ditch work.
Yeah.
Because if they need to get in and out of there, so. Okay, so maybe now is the time, and we can do some work to the road now, that's fine, but.
Well, I think for the ditch, we just want to, it's kind of plugged up right now,
Yeah.
so we're just going to kind of make it just open
Okay.
it up some, but next spring we'll probably have to do a lot more in there
Okay.
for next year. Yeah.
So then I can talk with them about prepping any site work that they need to do for early spring so that we can get in there and do our part when they're done, and that way we won't
Yeah.
limit their access.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then while I'm thinking of it, Jordan Kane on Reagan Road, Consolidated put that in Thursday and Friday. So that's done. He's got it buried back. So
Okay.
that project is completed.
Great. Cool. Anything else under roads and bridges?
Did anybody turn in any road signs?
Yeah. None of our
They're all
road
ordered.
signs have
They're all
shown-
ordered. So
Yeah.
I haven't, knock on wood, seen any more missing.
Yeah.
Maybe the stuff we put on Facebook help
Maybe
or help
a little peer pressure.
helped.
Don't be a dick.
And I haven't found any anywhere yet. So.
Yeah. Did they take actually the pole?
Well, look at the Gibu.
Did
End of
the pole go?
everything's gone.
The whole pole's
At the end of the
gone.
Gibu.
The
pole
creamery.
and the stop signs.
Yes.
Creamery, they
Stop
took the
sign's
whole
gone,
pole.
too.
Stop sign's gone too.
So they must have
Yeah.
like just soldered. I mean, is the base of it still there?
No, they pulled it right out.
gone.
I think the whole thing's gone. I can't find them.
God. They
And
had to have taken.
I think those are almost 2 poles too, or maybe that one was 1. But yeah,
Holy cow.
and then the other ones they've been taking the signs off the top. Yeah, and then Amadon, the sign was gone, and then like a week later I went up there and the whole post was knocked over. Somebody backed over the stop sign,
Yeah.
the whole post, so now I got to replace the whole thing because it was bent right over.
Well, at least I didn't steal it.
No, I ended up pulling it out myself.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So hopefully that slows down. We'll get those back up
Yeah.
and get that taken care of.
All right. If there's nothing else under roads and bridges, we can move on to buildings and grounds. 98 Main Street, no update on any communication with the post office there. I did renew my P.O. box for a year though, and I told Judy that that's a binding contract.
Yeah, it's binding contract. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And then on the PSB town office renovations, did just check in with them. Their first meeting was on September 1st. They've got another meeting planned for either October 13th or the 20th.
Okay,
Right now, their first meeting was basically a planning meeting. Right now, they're in the process of tracking down building plans so that they can start to map out proposed changes. So
I guess I'll see if I can go through the office, the Old Town clerks, and see if we can.
yeah, I struck out.
Oh, you did?
Looking there.
Did you go in the vault, or you just went in the?
At that point, I looked all over, but that was also before everything got torn apart and moved again.
Okay.
So the only place I didn't dig through in any great detail was what would have been the top of the cabinet in the old conference room.
And that's where a lot of them were.
So they
Yeah.
might be up there. I was told by
Okay.
Sue, I thought there was a foam board that had them all on there, but I never saw
Home board.
like
Yeah.
a hard foam board that had the blueprints like matted to them, but I
Oh,
never
okay.
saw anything like that.
Well, sometime, I mean, I checked that building out.
Yeah. So
I'll try to go in there and see if we can find them. They've got to be somewhere.
yeah, I assume.
Yeah.
So yeah, the 13th or the 20th is their next meeting. The plan
Okay.
is to get the plans by then so that they can start doing some preliminary design work
Okay.
and go from there.
Yeah.
That's all we had on the agenda for buildings and grounds. Anything else on your radar, Mark?
No.
Okay. I mean, I guess it does kind of fall under buildings and grounds, but we talked about it last time, but the Halloween's usually when we shut this building up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if we want to plan on doing that Halloween,
Okay.
and we can talk as we get down to the Arpa discussion about our next meeting, because we'll want to figure out how and where we're going to have that. But I guess if we want to plan on,
Well, our next meeting will be here.
yeah, I assume so. The other option would be is whether or not we want to try to do some sort of remote meeting, or if we can pull off a hybrid meeting. That would be the one that we're looking to have that ARPA kind of community listening session on,
Oh.
of how to spend the money. So letting people kind of bring their
Oh,
ideas
okay.
up. And so the idea there would
Yeah.
be to give as many people an opportunity as possible to like participate.
Yeah.
So if it's going to be in person, this is where it makes the most sense because of the space.
Yeah.
Right.
We
Yeah.
could also pivot and go fully remote, but that could create a same issue of some people can't participate
Right.
via Zoom because
Yeah.
of internet stuff.
Yeah.
Or we can try to have a combined meeting in person and hybrid if we can get it set up. The other option is to do just an in-person meeting and give folks a chance to submit, comments and stuff beforehand. So basically announce it this week, we're going to do it,
Yeah.
and say if you have ideas, you can email the select board, XYZ.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, since we're talking about it, what do people think in terms of how do we set it up to allow for the best?
I think if we could do a hybrid, I think
Yeah.
that would be the most, most people could, if we can figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
All right. Let me talk to these guys and see if between now and then we can get that set up. Because I know we can do it to plug in through your cameras and your mics. It's just a case of what tech we have to have on our end to be able to
yeah.
manipulate it. But we'll see if we can get that set up for that one.
Then I don't know the way we can kind of advertise that a little more so people know,
Yeah.
you can come up with ideas. And,
Yeah, we'll probably get the word out about it this week while we're hammering out the logistics, and then we can, as soon as we figure out the format, we can get the information out to people.
yeah.
Yeah. We
Is
should-
it possible
yeah.
to use the school?
I don't think so.
Probably not, just given they really don't want people in there
Yeah.
with COVID, like anything,
Yeah.
any kind
Yeah.
of discretionary stuff.
Yeah.
Well, if we could
Yeah, that's true.
Just
Do,
because they have the
um,
technology.
our website and put up some of the posters around and about.
Yeah, we can use the website. We can use Facebook. Yeah, I know that they have the technology set up for it. I just know that with other requests for use of the school, I think Sandy's basically said like,
Not for
Not-
not for that many people.
Not right
now.
People coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say no.
Because I think their gym's already divided up already or something.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't been up there at all this year.
I think it is.
okay,
Yeah.
I mean, our kids can't even eat in the gym anymore. Again.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me check. I'll talk to Roger at Northwest Access and see if we can get that set up for next meeting. And that might be a good test run of a system like that.
Yeah.
One of the things, I guess we can just, if there's no objection to it, since we're talking about it, we can just skip to the ARPA part of the agenda.
Oh, okay, yeah.
One of the things that we can use ARPA money for is doing remote hybrid participation at meetings. And so as far as technology goes, whether it's getting additional tech to be able to hook into their system, or if it's buying one of those OWL things,
Oh, yeah.
like for our meetings in the PSB, those kind of expenditures we can use ARPA money to pay for.
Yeah.
So let's see what we might need for tech. And then, if that is something that the community thinks is really worthwhile, we could even look at setting up the conference room in more of a hardwired way where we can have better screen projection and that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, because ideally with those kinds of setups, you want to have a camera, the screen, the table, everything set up to allow for that
Yeah.
fixed. Yeah.
And then the people can see what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because we did get our first installment of both the town and the county money. So that was combined $63,000.
Oh, okay.
The next installment is going to come in next year. I'm sorry, we got in 62,000 plus 116,000. So next year we're going to get the balance of that for the total of 360,000.
So that's going. There's another separate account opened up for that.
Yeah, so we have an account Aaron's opened up, and the first deposit of the 62,000 and 116,000, it's combined, but that's our county and town money together.
Okay.
That's been deposited. The next installment is going to come next year. We've got 4 years, I think, to spend it. They initially had reporting requirements set up for the end of this month, but the state has worked with them to basically extend that so that we don't have to report anything until the end of April of next year.
Okay.
Since this year's report from probably everyone in the state was going to be, we have no idea what we're going to do with the money yet.
Yeah. Well, I have one idea. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, like we haven't decided yet. So the money's there. The first chunk of it's in our account. We can plan at our October 18th meeting to have that kind of community listening session to generate other ideas and get feedback. Just to recap, the things we've talked about here is any money towards supporting the infrastructure projects we're looking at with wastewater and streets, public service building renovations, remote hybrid participation at meetings, broadband, extending power to the Reagan Road pump station for water.
I just put an application in for that.
Oh, cool.
With the Vermont Electric, so we can get the ball rolling on that. Then I'll be meeting with Evan to see what we can do up there.
Great. And is that through an application to get a permit for the work, or through?
It's an application for service.
For service, okay.
Application, yeah.
Great.
Yeah. It's just to get them to come out, and then it's like if you want to hook up a house or something, it's just an application for service.
Okay, great.
And so it gets the ball rolling.
Yep. That definitely.
I wanted to see if we can, ECI's in town, just bore it up, line up there, and I want to see if we can do that.
To get it under? Yep.
To get it done while they're still in town, which I think would be the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about 500 feet, but I want to make sure my electric is fine with that before we go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And if we're coming off the right pole, we have to go, all that stuff.
Okay, and I will see if I can get more clarity on timing for use of or appropriation of funds, so that if we do end up wanting to pull the trigger on that, next month or this month or whatever, we can make sure we do it in a way where we can still bill it to that account.
Yeah.
So I'll talk to Aaron about that.
Yeah.
The one thing about the ARPA funding for broadband is that, right now the state has put about $150 million into the Vermont Community Broadband Committee's work. Plus there's this other infrastructure bill that may or may not come out of Congress. and like 3 other funding sources to support this work. And so, I think eventually we're going to end up with like probably 30 million to 40 million bucks in our communications union district for this work. And I think based on kind of like some of the preliminary things they've looked at about extending broadband throughout the whole community, I think they were looking at like 4 to 5 million for the line work and everything. So the feedback I got from the CUD was basically like, we love you guys and that's cute that you want to give us some of your Arpa money, but it's going to cost way more money than you can ever. So like basically like they're probably going to say, keep your Arpa money, spend it on something different, and we'll go after other funds. So just wanted to flag that as having broadband as one of the uses that what we're hearing from the CUD is probably going to be that they probably won't need any support through that channel.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They're hiring a new executive director either tonight or within the next couple of weeks to really get the ball rolling on that. But I think based on what they were saying, that they anticipate the completion of the business plan on their end in 2021, and next year would be when they're going to start initial construction activities. Mm-hmm. So as early as 2022, we could actually see some work actually on the ground happening with broadband extension.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is it still just Everett who's kind of...
Everett's our point guy, and I think there's a pretty good chance he might end up chair of the CUD in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, Everett's our point man, so I've been trying to keep in touch with him on kind of where things are at so that we can stay in the loop. So that's their update. So anyway, as far as Arpa goes, first slug of money's in. We'll plan for the October 18th meeting. We'll see if we can hook it up to be hybrid, and we'll get feedback from town.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to post that in the newsletter since I have to do that in the next day or two?
Yeah. Maybe you don't have to put explicitly like the mechanics of it, but on the 18th, we're going to hold the meeting. It'll likely be in the Grange with a hybrid option, what you can say. Awesome. So then getting back to Public Works, again, Buildings and Grounds, that was the update from the PSB committee. So they'll meet again later this month to get the ball rolling there. Water Commission, I didn't have anything specific for that, other than I did get them the signed quote for the drone work back, so that work is pending.
Okay, yeah. We had an issue at the 118 pump station by the school. The conduit was broken and the mice got into the electrical panel. We vacuumed it out, and then Doug was looking at it too. And we taped up some of the wires. They had chewed some of the wires, coating off some of the wires, so we taped them up. There's still a little bit more we got to clean out in there. And I'm hoping we caught it in time so it didn't damage anything. But we've sealed up the conduit. And then there was the conduit down at the town garage, had a hole too, so we sealed that one up. But the mice got in there and made a mess.
Okay.
But I think we caught it in time.
Was that what all the mission notifications were coming in today for?
Yeah, we were shutting stuff down.
Okay, that must have been it. I figured.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
And then tomorrow, Brent Ronaldo comes back, and we're going to continue to do the hydrant flow testing and everything. He came last week, and then he got some debris in his gauge, so it wouldn't go in. So we had to order some new equipment, and so it's coming. We're continuing that this week.
Great.
So hopefully that'll be done next couple of days.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Great. And I think we noted last time we did get the money for that hydrologic modeling flow test. So I expect to see some paperwork on that soon from the state just to finalize that. But then Hoyle Tanner should be back in touch now that that's given the green light to start planning for what comes next. So as soon as we get some words from them, we'll figure out what's next.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else under Water Commission?
No, I think that's it.
Great. Only other thing under Public Works was just an update on the Longley Bridge tap project.
So that project is complete.
The temporary fix is complete.
The temporary fix. So I'll just get the bill to us.
We actually have the bill.
We do?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
I was actually I was really surprised. Well, because we have another bill that we can look at later that is for plowing from last winter from Avery.
Well, yeah, I saw that.
So I said, all right, so now we
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what, yeah, Avery gave me the excavating, and I said, did they hand me that other one too? And I'm like, well, Avery, for plowing and.
It's October and you're giving
Yes.
us a bill.
Yes.
So anyway, I just made a
Yeah.
note for Aaron. I said, Aaron, we got to make sure that we keep up on our vendors to get us invoices. And I mentioned St. Ange, and he said, actually, they gave us the invoice today.
Wow.
Yeah, I figure Artie has to pay for that wedding somehow, right?
Well, I guess I won't bug them then.
Yeah.
They got it.
I'm pretty sure it's in the stack here, so
Yeah.
we'll pull it out.
But we seeded it down the other day, the bank, and then I went down today and looked at it after we've got more rain, and it seems to be holding up well.
Awesome.
So I think we
Good.
should be all set
Good.
for the winter time. And then hopefully the project's going to happen next year.
Yeah, well, everything is still moving forward with that, with the
Yeah.
permitting and everything, so that ball continues to roll forward.
Okay. Yeah.
Great. That brings us through Public Works, unless anybody's got anything else.
No.
Great. That we can go to visitors. Hello. Yeah, okay, so.
Well, sometimes when that happens, it means you're doing a good job. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, right. Hey, no one's here to complain about anything, so
Yeah.
great. Great. So running into old business, first item here was ARPA. Again, we already kind of talked about this, so we've covered that pretty well. Next item up here was just the wastewater and streetscape projects, updates there. So I think we mentioned this last time, but all the soil test pit work was completed. Now what the engineer is looking to do is go back and do some deep soil bores. What these are actually going down 60 to 70 feet and putting in a monitoring well, they call it.
Oh, okay,
I assume
yeah.
it's going to be small, to then basically track, saturation
As the groundwater.
as it changes. So I'm working on getting the permissions from landowners on that now. The additional subsidies that we applied for, 140,000 and change that we applied for twice. If everybody remembers, there was two forms that were identical, but it was for a subsidy for this year and next year's fiscal year through the state revolving fund. Both of those were approved and have come through. So that is a free and clear forgivable loan. So that would be $280,000 towards the project, which would not be paid back regardless.
Yeah.
So a lot of the planning money we've had so far is paid back if the project advances. These subsidies are just forgivable loans, which we do not pay back. So with that receipt of that, now we're going to move into the soil bore testing, which that will fund.
Yeah.
Or part of it. So that is the update on those projects for now.
I did have one more thing for the water.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Billy Senior approached me. I guess they're looking at tearing down the rectory at the church, at the Catholic church.
Really?
Really?
And so the issue is, well, at least they don't want to keep heat in it this winter. So the issue is the water goes into that building and then it comes out of that building and goes over to the parish hall. So what's got to be done is dug outside and run the water underground
Directly
around in
into
front. So I said we could help them with that. I'm not sure how that works, if water department has to pay for that, or
I don't think so. I mean,
it's after the curb stop.
It's after the curb stop, so that's really on them.
I'd say they would have to pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, we can help
We'll
coordinate
help
it.
them,
Yeah.
with it, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
because-
Catholic diocese should be paying for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So what is the plan to do with the building? Just bulldoze it?
I don't know, that's what I've heard.
Put parking there? Or
I
just
don't-
make it like a yard?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is the building not in good shape on the inside, or?
I guess they said it cost them like $5,000 to heat it last year, so,
Wow.
something like that,
This
so.
is the church itself.
This is the.
No.
Oh, the rectory.
The
Oh.
rectory,
Huh.
so, yeah, I've
Well,
been.
no one's lived in that for a while.
Yeah, they haven't, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But at least if we get the water bypass through the building, if they don't want to heat it, then at
Yeah.
least we won't have,
Yep.
Right now, we can't shut it off, so.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So I'll work, since Brent is here, he can locate lines, so I'll have him locate the lines there. So we can
Yep.
just get that bypassed
Great.
and done. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So the old business, item C was the dog complaint. So if folks remember the Mendigo property over here next to the Snyder property, Tim had submitted a complaint months ago with documentation regarding their dog being in violation of the ordinance. 3 or 4 weeks ago, we sent them a certified letter with a warning that basically said, you're in violation of these provisions of the ordinance. Tim has been back in contact last week, basically following up to say that the letter really had no impact. The dog is still loose, coming onto his property, and is still being left outside. I forget the way it's phrased, but yeah, barking nonstop when it's outside. Tim did provide some photos to demonstrate that yes, the dog is on his property, so it's substantiated the dog is not being contained as it needs to be. So the next follow-up here is to send them a fine. And so I will write up a letter and get with Brent, and we will essentially move into the next phase of the ordinance, which is to assess a fine, given that they are not in compliance with the ordinance after being warned.
Yeah.
So that's the next step there.
What do we do at a certain point without an animal control officer?
So without an animal control officer, that duty falls to this board in consultation with the constable in terms of like carrying out specific orders.
Okay.
So like if it came to it and we had to actually remove the dog, then we would get Brent involved. I want to make him aware anyway of what's happening, just so that he knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the next step is to send him another letter, and this time assess a fine. In my experience on the board, I don't ever remember fining somebody. Do you recall? Do we have like a form?
I think we had done it before.
Okay, I'll have to look back in the town office records.
Yeah. Maybe 10 years ago. I think there was somebody up on Eastburg Mountain Road or something. We did. I'm not sure.
Maybe Linda
Just
would know.
sounds familiar.
Yeah, you're right. Linda might have an idea.
Oh, Linda might.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's where we're at with that one. Last item up here under old business is just the use of the PFP conference room. So if you remember at our last meeting, it was brought to the board a request from Tumble Time to potentially use the conference room at the PSB for their weekly get-togethers. I went and I talked with both the office staff, fire department, and essentially at this point, I don't think that we're going to be able to allow use of that conference room for any kind of other discretionary activities other than what it's used for, specifically supposed to be used for. The main concerns were just around having any other activities or groups in there that we don't need to have in there due to COVID concerns, as well as just the function of the office itself. Having like a large number of kids in there is disruptive to the function of the office. So, who runs Tumble Time?
So that's Carmen Carroll runs.
Because I can reach out to Carmen.
Yeah, I was just gonna go to the office and talk to the staff there, but I guess since it came up again. So the thing is that we're not, like normally, it's not an ideal space for Tumble Time either, which is, don't be deceived by Tumble Time. It's really just crafts, like crafts and reading.
Yeah.
And so we're not allowed to use the school, which is where we would normally be.
Mm-hmm.
The Grange is closed, the MCA is closed. There's no public space for this age group of infant to 3 years old to be able to meet and do activities that are socially engaging and developmentally, like, kind of great. And also good for the moms, quite frankly. So, like, it was suggested that that should just be done in the library, but there's really not space in the library for that either. Like, we can't do crafts in the library. We can't do things like that. It makes a big mess. It disrupts other people who are trying to use the library. So I know, like, I understand the argument against using this space for this purpose, but just with the knowledge that, like, if we can't get this space, there's pretty much no other public space available for this purpose. It's only 1 hour once a week, and I think everybody who's in the group would agree that we can close the doors and stay contained and try to keep the volume down. And even if you would allow us to do like a trial, and if it turns out it's really awful for everybody else in the building, like, you know, we'll stop. But going into winter, like, we want to be outside as much as possible with the kids, and we'll try to do that. But like on really miserable days, it's good to have an indoor space.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I wish there was a better option. I mean, we can certainly like revisit this as we get later, and if things change with COVID, and at least that part of it is less of a concern. But at this point, you know, talking with the folks in the building around group activities happening in that space, the feeling was just that we want to minimize that to the greatest extent possible.
Okay.
So again, like, if we watch what happens with COVID over the next couple of months, if that kind of shakes out in a way that's better, we can certainly, you know, because the other part of it is like, if we open the door for this group, it makes it harder to say that senior luncheons can't happen there, or other groups that might want to use the space. So I get it, like, we don't have a good space in town that can fill that capacity.
It was a little different when the town office wasn't in there.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's never been an ideal space for that purpose. I remember going there with Layla. It's like fluorescent and small and hard floor, like.
Yeah.
But I think that just it's just that there's this demographic of children who have already lost so much social engagement together in the last year and a half, and this is like, you know.
What about the rec center building? I know they heat that in the wintertime.
Do they heat it through the winter?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess I'll suggest it.
I think that's almost a better spot.
Yeah, it's got, the common room there
That's
is,
the purpose,
I mean,
right?
that's the purpose of that building.
Or what about the church?
We're closing the MCA for the winter. Is that what you mean?
No, like,
The Catholic?
yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
parish?
parish hall?
Yeah, I wonder if they have like a space that they use for.
Not really.
No,
I
I
mean,
don't think so.
Yeah.
It's all set up usually for bingo.
Yeah.
They just have
The kids can play bingo.
Right. I
Well, I
know.
was just thinking the rec center.
I'll ask for the rec
Yeah, you
center.
want to ask Marcia?
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
because I know this building is heated all winter, it's all year round.
Are they are heating it? Because I didn't know without
Well, we
the
have
ice.
to, there's water in there, so.
Oh, okay.
Heated. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if we're talking there, I mean, and that room is set up to have kids. I mean, they use it in the summer for that purpose, so.
Yeah,
if it works, it would be.
they got the benches around and
Okay.
arts and crafts.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll mention it.
great. And there's no other new business tonight for the board. We have no permits, we have no licenses, and we have nothing else that's come up new since our last meeting. So with that, we're through our agenda. Unless anybody else has any other. Don't all speak at once.
I think I'm done with it.
All right, if that's the case, then the motion to adjourn is always in order.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Great. And any discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thanks for a good, quick meeting, everybody.
I object, it went too quick.
I was gonna say, has anybody ever